Opinion. Today I am reviewing the Broadway revival of Thornton Wilder's play Our Town, directed by Kenny Leon, running through January 19th at the Ethel Barrymore Theater at 243 West 47th Street in New York City. Come and commune with me and my patrons over my Patreon page, where you can, for as little as $1 a month, support this channel as well as my classic cinema podcast, Yesterday's Matinee, currently featuring, for patrons only, George A. Romero's 1968 classic Night of the Living Dead. There are also retro reviews, the occasional restaurant review, and a few other goodies here and there. Thank you to my current patrons, especially my Neo and Hamilton tier patrons, and welcome to the new ones. A link will be in the description.
This play is called Our Town. In it, you will see Billy Eugene Jones, Richard Thomas, Michelle Wilson, Katie Holmes, Ephraim Sykes, Zoe Deutsch, Sophia Harris, Hagen Oliveris, Julie Halston, and many others. The name of the town is Grover's Corners.
Very ordinary town, if you ask me.
Once in 1,000 times. It's interesting.
Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute?
There are some things we all know, but we don't take them out and look at them very often.
People are meant to go through life two by two. Tain't natural to be lonesome.
You've got to love life to have life. And you've got to have life to love life, is what they call a vicious circle.
Oh, Earth, you're too wonderful for anybody to realize you.
Thornton Wilder's Our Town is one of the true timeless pieces of theater. Yes, it is set in a very specific time and place, the turn of the 20th century in Grover's Corner, New Hampshire, but there is nothing here that he has written that isn't still legitimate in the modern lens. Kids still fall in love. Adults still must manage the day-to-day struggles of life. Tragedy still strikes, and death still looms over every one of us with the common fears and uncertainty of the afterlife. When handled deftly, it is a play that not only offers nostalgic ruminations of past joys of your first kiss or your wedding day, but also succor for those who grieve, for those who long for the lost. As for the stage manager, here played with a mix of casual matter-of-factness and wry wit by Jim Parsons, notes most humans never realize life while living it. The saints and poets maybe, they do some, he says. It may not necessarily be fact, but definitely a truism. Most of the human race never does look much further than what concerns themselves. Often, even in our more altruistic moments, we concern ourselves with how doing good affects us, relishing in the celebratory sensations of servitude, the passing bliss of benevolence through charity. The truth, for what it's worth to those whose ears are willing to listen, is that most of us don't know how to see the world beyond ourselves. Wilder knew this, and it is why Our Town remains one of the most important plays ever written. Director Kenny Leon looks to extend the breadth of Our Town while respecting the principle of the original concept, keeping the stage as bare as possible, with but a couple tables and chairs to represent the homes of the Gibbses and the Webbs, neighboring families whose children fall in love with each other. There is no civil blood making civil hands unclean here. This is a peaceful community. The one really big scenic design element is when the third act begins and we have the reveal of the cemetery, and Beowulf Boritt really comes out and you see his classic work. It's an impressive little beat. Grover's Corners, which would have historically been predominantly, if not entirely white, at the turn of the 20th century, is now a diverse well of people. The Gibbses are black, while the Webbs are white. This production opens with a song being sung by the cast called Braided Prayer by Abraham Jam, which infuses prayers from various religions. Howie Newsome, the milkman, is played by a deaf actor, John McGinty, which deepens the natural complexity of the community as well. And all of this, I think, is great. Is it necessarily historically accurate? No. Is it likely that a small town, even in liberal New England, would be welcome to the idea of a black doctor in Dr. Gibbs, played by Billy Eugene Jones, conducting a birth for a white woman? Probably not. Would it have been socially acceptable for a black man and a white woman to marry? Almost certainly not. Would the religious makeup have been as diverse as the intro song leads to believe? No. But, in this instance, should we care? No. The play's themes are universal, and in this instance, should not be restricted by preconceived biases based on historical judgments. This production is about giving a deeper representation of America. The fundamental nature of life is not limited to race or ability or religion or any other, quote, dividing factor. We all experience joy and suffering, and that is why Kenny Leon's production of Our Town works and should be seen. Now, that being said, there are a few elements that didn't work for me. Though the concept of the story being timeless is in full effect, which I approve, there should be a clear period in which the play is set in its details, and Dede Ayite's costuming is a little all over the place. I think I get what is trying to be accomplished, but for me it makes the characters feel a little out of place from time to time. The other production issue I have is the pumping in of smells into the theater. In the first act, for example, the theater smells like flowers to represent Mrs. Gibbs's garden. In the second act, the smell of cinnamon comes in as Mrs. Gibbs, played by Michelle Wilson, makes French toast. In Act 3, Mrs. Webb, played by Katie Holmes, is making breakfast and the theater is inundated with the smell of bacon. It's a bit much. I spent most of the first act wondering which lady sprayed on too much perfume, stinking up my part of the theater, until my friend and I realized what was going on. The cast is mostly good, with some moments of exceptional acting. The third act interaction between Parsons' stage manager and young Emily Webb, played by Zoe Deutsch, is beautifully done and is the best part of the play, especially as she watches her mother and father, Mr. Webb, played by Richard Thomas, conduct their morning routine. There are also some delightful, charming moments between Emily and George Gibbs, played by Ephraim Sykes. The two's courtship is adorable and delightful. There is a lot of good going on here with Kenny Leon's production of Our Town. Does some of it not exactly work? Yes. Though the cast has been diversified, some of the design should probably stick to one period. The smells being pumped into the theater needs to go, like yesterday. The cast is overall solid, with a few exceptional performances by Zoe Deutsch, Ephraim Sykes, and Jim Parsons. Kenny Leon has taken some risks with this production, and most of them worked, which is not only a tribute to him as director, but also to Wilder and the timelessness of this indelible work of theater. But I'm only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you'd like to see Our Town, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get tickets. Also in the description will be links to my Patreon page and social media where you can follow me and support my work. You can also support me by liking and sharing this video, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review will be the world premiere of Falcon Girls at Yale Repertory Theater. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.